incredibly excited today to speak with at Dexonian, Mr. GG, Mr. Greg G, Chief Operating Officer for Dexio Protocol. Greg, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Again, man, excited to be here. Very excited.
Awesome. Well, I'm extremely excited to dive in, but first, it's time to level up.
Take it to the next level. Take it to the next level.
And welcome back, everybody. Let's get into it. Greg, you are doing some incredible things over at Dexio Protocol. I don't even want to try to summarize this. I want to hear straight from you. What exactly is Dexio Protocol, and what are you doing there?
Well, so first of all, again, thanks for having me on the show. So, I the best way that I have to describe what we're doing, we think of ourselves as a gaming company. Okay, we're in the crypto space. Obviously, we have a crypto project. We have a token, NFT marketplace, all those things, and we can get into that too. But we think of ourselves as a gaming company first. Why? Because you don't make games fun by shoving crypto and blockchain technology into them. You make games fun by making them fun. And so we've hired game developers and really focused on making sure that we make gaming fun first. So we're a gaming company, and we are bridging the gap between traditional enterprise and the Web3 phenomenon. So what does that mean? That means that traditional gaming has traditional enterprise mechanics in it, right? And traditional self-identified gamers are very excited about playing fun, immersive, interactive games. And what we found is that they're not particularly interested in playing NFT games, at least as we know it right now, because most NFT games are not particularly fun. They're all kind of play to earn focused, and they're very tokenomics focused. And so we're very much trying to make sure that we think about the gaming portion of it and our gamers and our users before we think about anything else, and using the blockchain and crypto portion of what we're doing, which is very important to what we're doing, obviously, as a way to enhance user experience, right? So the important thing is that the user has a good experience, and they're going to have a great experience playing a fun game, and we're going to make that experience even better, and we're going to retain people even more by providing a enhanced experience using crypto and NFT technology. We found that once we get the gamers to play our games, which are fun, and kind of disarm them against their skepticism towards NFT gaming, we find that they really enjoy NFT gaming. It's just getting them to actually play the game. So again, we're a gaming company. We're focused on making sure that we're making fun games.
Now, when you're thinking about this idea of a lot of NFT games are not really fun, they're mostly focused on play to earn. I have seen a lot of those lately, however, and just for historical accuracy, it's October 12th, 2022. I feel like we're in a renaissance of gaming and building, and people are all coming together and doing incredible things. And I've been so inspired by everybody's dedication to making it better and making it fun. And whether it's free to play, free to own, play to earn, play to own, whatever it is, we're all coming together around gaming, around technology. Are you seeing that also, or just kind of curious there?
No, so you're exactly right. What the analogy that I like to use for what has happened to the crypto space in general, but also what definitely happened to the GameFi space as a part of that. the analogy I like to use is a forest fire. What happened in the kind of, we've been technically in a bear market since November, right? Because BTC's been falling since November. So from a technical point of view, we've been crypto's been in a bear market since then. I think people would all agree that since like February, March, it was pretty clear that things were, riding down. By April, it was very obvious. And then obviously the whole Luna collapse in May and all that. So I kind of liken it to a forest fire. So, forest fires are bad. People, if you live in the forest, it's not a good thing, and it can be very destructive, but it's actually a healthy part of the life cycle of a lot of forests to clear out the dead wood and underbrush and,
make space,
provide
and
an
the
opportunity.
sentiment.
Right, exactly. Nutrients for the soil. It provides an opportunity for a new life cycle, a new growth cycle for the forest to, grow even bigger and better and more flourished from there. So,
Can we touch on that for a second?
Sure.
Can we touch on that point? To the plants and the new growth, the sentiment is nutrient rich soil from probably from the ashes or something. It's really nutrient dense. It mixes together. What is the equivalent of that, if that is an analogy, to the gaming space in this current epoch of time?
So I think what happened was there was a lot of attention and focus on things that weren't relevant to fun gaming, right?
Mhm.
So gaming is an incredibly important part of our experience
Humanity.
as human beings, right? It's actually been essential to the way that we connect with each other, how we adopt new ideas, how we learn new things, how we are able to incorporate ourselves into new activities and in new communities, right? We use gaming in churches and synagogues and mosques, in I don't use this necessarily in a negative way, but to indoctrinate the young people into that particular dogma, right? And we use gaming in ways that we connect with each other in the schoolyard and in schools and classrooms. And we use gaming in corporate retreats and in office exercises. It's a way that it kind of disarms us, right? It makes it so that we're more apt to connect with and have fun and do things with other people and learn new ideas. And so when gaming isn't fun, you're not going to retain gamers, right? And GameFi was like everything was about tokenomics. Everything was about earning. It was like the whole thing was just super focused on that. And I think to your point and what you're experiencing and talking to people in the industry that are working in the industry, and I'm also experiencing this too, talking to people like you and then talking to people in the industry. Everybody has realized we went as a company. 7 of us went to Consensus in Austin in Texas, the CoinDesk sponsored event in Texas. And the overwhelming, mantra there was gaming has to be fun. Fun first, fun first, fun first. We were already thinking that before that, but it was really great to hear that kind of echoed back at us because it wasn't fun. Like all these games were being produced and all this GameFi stuff was being done and everything was like earn. How do I earn? And even in our own community, we had a lot of people in the community. We still do. People like, how do I make money playing this game? Like, well, okay, that's an important aspect of this, right? Because it's the kind of Web3 aspect of ownership, right? But if all you care about is making money playing a game, then you should probably be a professional gamer. Like that's not a realistic goal for the average person playing games, right? If you can have games that are super fun, that have the ability for people to have some kind of upside in it, right? That they can learn to earn or move to earn or play to earn in some kind of in some ethos, right? Then you're going to get people having an enhanced experience. That's what I'm saying. You have this enhanced experience. You talk to people I talked to a guy who, was telling me that, and I don't remember what game he was talking about. It might have been League of Legends or something, but he was saying that for 7 years, he spent 4 to 6 hours a day playing this game. Okay. That's a monumental investment of time, right? Now, granted, he's playing with his friends and, whatever. I mean, it was a monumental investment of time, but it was an enriching experience for him that isn't necessarily quantifiable or even qualifiable, right? It's like that's what gaming is. It's not, it's like, it's a way to
I will say, as a former aspiring League of Legends pro that has won a few tournaments and played in a couple leagues, it's not always enriching. Sometimes it's infuriating, and it's just but that's all part of it, of course.
I was going to say that's actually probably part of the experience, right? So, but if you could take some of that investment with you, right? That time, that money investment, and with NFT technology being the way that it is, upgradable NFT technology, right? Where you're taking data that's related to a game and tying that to an NFT and allowing that data to accumulate over time and provide some positive impact for that NFT's experience in that particular game, right? That actually is really cool. You can, grind away at a game and spend a lot of time and energy on it, and then have this thing in our Web3 world that you can then pass on to somebody else. You could give it to somebody, or you could sell it to somebody else within the ecosystem. Maybe draw a little bit of that capital that you've put in, both time and money capital, back out of it. This is a really positive thing, but it's not.
And actually, I want to hop in for 1 second here, and I do apologize. I know I keep cutting
No,
off,
you're good. Good. Cut me off.
To continue with the League of Legends example for a second, I've spent a lot of money on skins in my time. I have spent easily thousands to tens of thousands of dollars on skins, if I had to say, and over the course of my lifetime, right? And so all of that should have been accumulating things like statistics, history for that skin, its own. Each skin has a story to it, all the games that were played with it. What about the awesome moments? I played in an amateur league, but we won the championship. I was in Costa Rica traveling using crazy hacked together internet to make sure that I was able to play, and I was a jungler, right? So it's very important to not mess that up. And so, I mean, every position is important, of course, but to be able to document a snapshot of that history, that moment in time, that's real. That's something real. And that should be contained within NFT versions of these sorts of assets, just because it's amazing and it should be done for the sake of it. But also, those things are valuable. Let's say the top streamer has the winning kill in a potential game of in a game of whatever versus whatever. And that was like the no scope headshot 360 winning kill in the ultimate championship of championships. What if there were 25 copies of that? And that player could give that out to their top fans, the people who've supported them from the beginning. That is where it's at.
Right. And so what you're describing, I think, and getting back to this point about the forest fire, right? What you're describing is the really powerful components of how Web3 affects gaming in a very positive way, right? And what we saw in the bull cycle of 2021 was a really heavy shift away from experience and from the investment into the ecosystem, and the focus got completely shifted into profit, right? And what so I'm by no means anti-capitalist by any stretch of the imagination, but capitalism at its core has a requirement, and that requirement is that all money naturally will flow to where it will grow the fastest and the easiest. Okay, that's not a statement of any type of philosophical belief. That's just a fact about the way that capitalism has to work, right? So now what happens because of that is that people who are most interested in applying themselves to enriching themselves as fast as they possibly can are attracted to the things where the money is all flowing to, and you end up with like banksters and the financial system that we currently have and all the crazy shit that happens, right? So what we saw was a lot of intellectual energy and a lot of capital and a lot of time and other types of investments flowing towards the place where that money was growing the fastest and the easiest. And it drew in a lot of really kind of bad actors. It just did. It didn't draw in people who were interested in gaming. It didn't draw in people who were interested in blockchain. It didn't draw in people who were interested in anything other than profiting at whatever
Well,
cost.
maybe not primarily, but they were, well, let me rephrase it. Maybe not in a majority, or maybe in a majority, but there were some people I think who did come for other reasons.
No, absolutely.
A lot of that happened too.
Well, absolutely. And that's actually my point, is that the forest fire got rid of most of the people who were interested in things that and the projects that were very focused around these things, and left those of us that were actually engaged in, for lack of a better term, ethical, principled activity within the space, right? Because you couldn't really be focused on the profit side of things anymore, because all the profit was sucked out through the whole, crypto collapse, right? And so all the people who were only interested in that left, and we're left with a lot of really good people who are building really cool stuff, and all the noise, all the craziness, has kind of died down. It's very hard to be the loudest person in an already very loud room. In fact, it's almost impossible, right? But all that noise and chatter and clatter really got removed in that forest fire. And what's left is people like you and me and a lot of other people who you're talking to. And you're noticing that the space is shifting now towards people talking about, real use cases, about, user experiences, about actual ownership, and what Web3 is really about, what Internet 3.0 is really about, right? One of the great things I've heard, or descriptions I've heard about the internet, is Internet 1.0 was about consumption, consuming things, give me information, right? Internet 2.0 is about creating things, like I'm going to create my Facebook profile, my MySpace, or my YouTube. And Internet 3.0, Web3, is about ownership. Okay, now I get to participate in actually owning a piece of digital digital asset, right? And so that shift, because of, in a lot of ways, because of that forest fire, that shift has allowed the people who are actually interested in the, again, principled ethical application of Web3. It's left us going, okay, now what kind of cool stuff do we get to do, and who's left here to talk to about it? Because that's kind of where we're at now. Of course, there's problems, because we're in a crypto winter. There's not a lot of capital coming in. It's a struggle to try to develop things. You do need money, so that's another complication. But you do have a lot of people in the business now who are thinking about, okay, how do I create real business models? Not just all token based, Ponzi schemes. Because as a businessman, I've been a businessman for 20 some odd years. As a businessman, I always look at things and I go, okay, where's the money? Not because that's all I'm interested in, but just because I'm a businessman and that's what I think about. How are you paying your bills? How are you paying your people? Where's the money coming from? And when you look at most of crypto, it's like, where's the money coming from? Oh, it's coming from new investors coming in and you cashing out on them. There's a word for that. It's called a Ponzi scheme. So if you don't have real, business mechanics built into, your project, or into your gaming application, you're going to run into a lot of problems, right? And I think a lot of people are thinking about that now. I'm sure you're hearing people talk about that. Okay, how do we, create a sustainable system that we can actually pay for things, and not live in some, crypto anarcho, maxi la la land of like, everything has to be crypto. Like, no, we live in a fiat world. There's like, we have to pay for things, so now. I'm not saying that.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not making a political statement. I'm just making a reality statement. When I talk to Maxis, or like people are like, XRP is going to be world currency. Like, no, it's not. Okay. Like, you need to like get a grip on reality. Okay. It may be that we, enter a future in which crypto is the most integral or important part of how financial economics work. But it's certainly not going to be the only way, and there's not going to only be one crypto. That just doesn't, it's not. This is not Lord of the Rings, So anyway, so that's kind of, to your point, the forest fire, I think, cleared out all of the not all of, but a lot of the bad actors and a lot of the parasites and a lot of the people who were in the space for the wrong reasons. And we're looking for unrealistic outcomes. All the moon boys and chart chasers, like, when are we going to 50x? Like, that's not realistic. That's not how things
Well,
work.
maybe in a super short time frame. But
Right.
I like the group of people that are around right now, because I feel like a lot of people are really smart. I mean, I'm talking to so many people, and the things that everybody, including you, are saying, that's freaking brilliant. How many people would you meet on the side of the road and they could tell you the things that, for example, you have shared with us already in this very quick 20 minutes, right? Like, that's incredible. And so then we're all starting to like meet each other and talk to each other, because there's only so many people here. Like, there are a lot, and there's a ridiculous amount of talent. But then I feel like the more people I meet in this space, the more I realize so many people are so cool too. And it
Yeah.
feels like everybody wants to work together. And then it's like, wow, almost an Olympics of metaverse, crypto gaming, all blockchain, all of that, Web3, all of it comes together. And then it feels like we're a bunch of Marvel superheroes that are just, we're all going out and we're just completely kicking ass all together. It's a
I,
wonderful thing.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, and it's the whole space, actually. It's not just gaming and the GameFi space, right? The whole crypto space, really. And I mean, if you look at
And the
some of
metaverse.
and the metaverse, absolutely. I mean, and all of it. And they are kind of, they really are different things that are working together, right? But or there's overlap.
Yeah.
It's funny. I always kind of joke with people, like talk to me about metaverse. I'm like, I don't even know what the metaverse is. I don't think anybody does, I think we're still trying to figure it out. And
I think it's everything that's not physical. Anything
yeah,
that's not physical, metaverse. Done. Let's
that's
move
fair.
on from it.
That's fair. That's a fair. I
It's just a
think,
rebrand of virtual, digital, online, like everything not analog.
but it's a little bit more than a rebrand. I feel like it's almost like a next evolution of
For
what
sure.
we
Yes.
that was, right? And especially as the
Yes.
Web3 component is added to it, the whole digital ownership thing kind of like really changes, like
Totally.
but in
Complete
any
game
event,
changer.
it is, and it's awesome. But the whole space, so if you take basic statistics, right? Roughly, you know like around 4% of the world population has at one point or another traded crypto or owned NFTs. In Western countries, in some Western countries, those statistics are as high as about 12% at one point or another in the past year have owned an NFT or owned or traded crypto. So this is a pretty small, portion of the global population. But if you take, other numbers, like for example, there's roughly 3.2 billion gamers worldwide. Okay. And the gaming industry alone in 2022 is projected to do roughly $200 billion in business, right? This is a massive business. It is a massive, has massive impact on the world. 3.2 billion gamers. That's a lot of people. And, that's half the world, not quite half the world, but anyways, 40% of the world population. In the US alone, 75% of all households have at least one self-identified gamer. Now that means that in the US alone,
That's low.
That's low. That's at least one, right? So in some households, you're going to have four, right? The average household has four people. So, if you just, conservatively look at that, you're looking at, around 95 million gamers in the US alone, right?
And that's
So
self-identified.
that's
People play games on their phone. They are a gamer, but they may not realize they're a gamer. So we
that's
don't actually even know.
That's 100% right. Like, what does it mean to be a self-identified gamer? I mean, I play games. I wouldn't call myself a self-identified gamer, right? But I don't
Like,
know what
okay, I'll give you an example. My mom, easily one of the most awesome people in the whole wide world. Super grateful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes,
Mhm.
thank her. She plays Text Twist, right? She loves Boggle card games. Text Twist is online. It's like a Scrabble type game.
Okay.
She's like one of the most competitive people I know. So is she a gamer? Because we often have family game night, right? But
I mean, think about how many board games and card games, and like my kids who are young, are 12, 11, and 9. They love physical Monopoly. Like they love to play maybe I don't know, maybe it's me being the capitalist that I am. I don't know, maybe it's there's something there I should look at.
I love Monopoly.
I love Monopoly. They love physically playing Monopoly, but those kids will, if I let them, will endlessly play video games till
just wait till they find virtual Monopoly online.
They're not watching it. But yeah, so what does it mean to be a gamer? Again, these statistics are they're probably conservative, right? So if you look at GameFi itself and where we are in this space, how important, so the GameFi space is not, that $200 billion, the GameFi space is a very small portion of that. It's kind of hard to get accurate statistics on this, but it by some projections that seem, probably fairly accurate, the GameFi space will grow by about 10 times in the next 3 years. That's because of people like you and a lot of the people that we're talking, that we're both talking to and that we're talking about, that there's a lot of really smart people who are really engaged and interested in this, who have really ethical approaches to what how Web3 affects gaming and what GameFi can really be.
And gotta be integrity first. Gotta be integrity first.
There you go. So one of the things we always talk about, it's in our white paper, we talk about all the time, authenticity, integrity, and transparency. Those three things really guide everything that we do. We're interested in adoption, we're interested in utility, we're interested in sustainability, but we're guided by the principles of authenticity, integrity, and transparency. And the reason why is because I need to hold myself accountable. I need to hold the people around me accountable. And we have to be able to trust one another as we're kind of going along this journey. And without those three principles in place, it's very difficult to trust people, right? And
actually, I think this is the key to making trustless systems work too. For example, let's say you're part of a DAO and there are 874 members of the DAO, and you are trying to persuade each and every one to agree with you on something, right? In my current perception, the best way to do that is to put forth the highest integrity solution. And here's why. That's what everybody's looking for at the end of the day, the one that's the most fair and the most equitable and just the most, like, it makes the most sense, and they can't think of something better. Why would they not choose that one? So that's the key, right? Because whoever can put that forward, you then become the person that just saved everybody all the time and trying to figure that out. You're a superstar. You're a hero for figuring that out. And it brings the trust and the trustless together, right? Or is there a better way?
We're actually on the verge of launching our own DAO. And we have a governance token that is going to be how people vote in that DAO, connecting through a DApp and voting, using your tokens essentially as voting rights. And we're doing that for a number of different reasons, but primarily we want people to be invested in the solution process, right? The best way that you can get people to be invested in a solution process is to get them to actually invest their time and energy into something, right? And if somebody has their time and energy invested into something, they're far more likely to, be persuaded by truth, right? It's very easy to be persuaded by, whims and, fantasy when you don't actually have something on the line. When you have something on the line, you often are it's difficult to persuade you away from reality, right? So, we need to be invested in solutions, and because there are a lot of, not problems in the sense of like there's negative problems, but there's things that we need to work out and figure out how we're going to do these things, how we're going to make these things work, what the most equitable solutions are. And we need everybody thinking about those things and everybody putting forward their own, everybody that's invested in the situation, putting forward their own opinions. And I think you're right that if you have people with integrity, right, and that's very clear, self-honesty, which is what integrity is, right? You have people that you understand to be self-honest, whether you agree with them or not. That's a different thing, right?
Of course.
But, for me, when somebody has conviction, that's important to me, right? Now they could have conviction about fucking lunatic shit, and then I'm like, but I mean, if somebody has genuine conviction and integrity, they're honest with themselves about stuff and they have conviction about what they're saying, I'm far more likely to listen to them, even if I don't agree with them, right? And actually, it's helpful for me to listen to people who have conviction and integrity that I don't agree with, because at worst, I'm going to come to understand what I believe even better, right? And at best, I'm going to come to understand that what I believe is not quite right. And I need to adjust my understanding of things to meet this new information or this new perspective that I'm hearing about. It's very difficult
That's
to
a
listen.
superpower. That's a superpower right there. The ability to hear what somebody else is saying when they're disagreeing with you and taking what is true from what they're saying and immediately adapting that and implementing that in your own life from then forward.
I like that.
That is a freaking superpower, because so many people will get attached to ideas or beliefs that they hold. And it's a very simple conflation of self identity with an idea. That's pretty dangerous, especially if this idea is not rock solid for sure, 100% to be truth. Because if that's wrong, instead of being able to correct that truth, now you have to fight your own identity and your view of self. So that gets pretty dangerous. The ability to detach from that and to be able to freely trade ideas when it makes the most sense. Wow, what a freaking superpower! That's what you're describing there, and I
Yeah,
really wanted to put that in.
well, thanks, man. And but that's true, and I think a lot of people actually, that I know have that ability, but it's a lot easier to accept what somebody else is saying if you don't agree with them, if you know that that person has integrity. That's kind
Yes.
of, if you have an experience with that person, you know that person is authentic, they have integrity, they've been transparent about things, they themselves are not, living in some kind of irrational reality that they think they're always 100% accurate, that they're open to ideas, right? That's how we exchange ideas, and that's how we figure out, uh, uh, that's how we learn, right? That's how we
Yeah.
adapt and evolve, and we learn.
Get better. Grow as humanity and people.
Exactly. I had a teacher many years ago that had a giant blackboard, and he drew he said, pretend this giant blackboard is everything that ever could be known in the whole universe. And he drew a tiny little dot in the corner, and he said, that's how much you know. And then he drew a small circle around that dot, and he said, that's how much you know you don't know. And then he said, all the rest of this, you don't even know you don't know that stuff. And that had a really powerful impact on me, because I was just like, man, that's kind of true, right? We learn, we there's a bunch of stuff we know we don't know, and then there's a bunch of stuff we don't even know we don't know, and we come into contact with other people and other experiences, and we start to incorporate ideas and new things, right? And the only way that we're going to grow and make that little dot get bigger and that circle get a little bit bigger in our lifetime is if we are open enough to other people who've had other experiences on other parts of that blackboard, and are able to incorporate those things into what we're seeing and doing. And I think that's happening
You
in
know
games.
what's one you know what's one thing about this metaphor of the dot that's you, the whiteboard that's everything, the circle around you, which is what you know, and then everything else is what you, or another circle, which is what you know that you don't know, and then everything else, which is what you don't know that you don't know. I think there are also parts of that, and I don't know how, maybe like dots everywhere of things that you think you know, but you're actually wrong.
Yeah,
Or you
yeah,
assume is a certain way and it
yeah,
is not actually that way.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
there are dots of that everywhere too. So that just adds a whole layer of complexity. And then each individual person is having that. And then we're all interacting with each other. So all that's compounding on itself. And that's been happening over the span of humanity.
Well,
So
and
that's pretty crazy.
think about like where we've gotten to, especially with social media and feedback loops, right? We start to just like surround ourselves with a whole bunch of people who are telling us the same thing, right? And it's like we have this giant feedback loop. This is what I believe, and now I'm hooked into all these other people who also believe this, and they're telling me that what I believe is true, and
Right.
it's just like, okay,
Rapid radicalization.
that's not very helpful to growing, right? So one of the I wouldn't say that our team is contentious. That's not how, I mean, but like there's very different, points of view, and we have a lot of different, ideas about how to do things. And we definitely get, I don't know, amped
Heated.
up. Yeah, I mean, we get like now, and Don is my business partner and the CEO of Dexio Protocol, Don Reika, who's become like has become one of my best friends and like a brother to me. But man, we disagree on a lot of stuff. Like we're constantly, we're constantly like at odds with each other about. He's like, no, I don't think that's a good idea, and I'm like, no, but it is a good idea, and he's like, it's really not a good idea. But like. And then but because we respect each other and we're able and we both understand that we're coming from this point of view of integrity, we're able to listen to each other and kind of figure things out, and that's been really helpful in our process, along with the rest of the people on our team. And actually to that point about the GameFi space and making games fun, one of the things that we intentionally did was hire game developers who were not crypto people. Like we don't want crypto people making our games. We want gamers making our games. We want and Ovi Sans, who's our chief game developer, and his team, they're all gamers. They're like hardcore gamers, and Ovi and some of the other people on his team have really zero experience prior to Dexio Protocol with crypto. Some of the guys do have a little bit of experience, but certainly they're not by any means like crypto people. And that's been really good because they've been like, their whole orientation has just been like, why the hell are we putting crypto in it? How does this make this better? And then like, actually, how does it make it? It doesn't make it better. We have to find ways to enhance people's experiences using crypto and NFT technology, not force it in there because we're trying to like create some utility that's pointless. Like utility
got to be a meritocracy. It's got to be a meritocracy.
There has to be some level of meritocracy for sure. I mean, you do have to have people making decisions, which also is part of it too. Okay, so again, getting back to kind of Dexio Protocol and what we're trying to do, in bridging that gap with traditional enterprise, I want to talk just a little bit about that if I can, if you don't mind.
Please.
We're very much of the mindset that where we are right now is in a hybrid. Where we are right now requires that we have a hybrid business model to gaming, right? We want to use. We want to include and encourage crypto and blockchain adoption, NFT adoption. Okay. But we also need to make sure that we're not
proselytizing to the point of not getting customers.
Well, and more than that, actually, it's not proselytizing is positive. But so we built our games so that you don't need to have a digital wallet to play them. You don't have to connect your wallet. You don't need a wallet. You can create a profile. There's non-blockchain assets. There's a non-blockchain in-game currency called Dexy Cash. You can play the games for your whole life without ever connecting a wallet if you don't want to. And so why did we do that? We did that because we wanted to make games that people played because they were fun, and we didn't want to force them into crypto and NFT use. We didn't want to make them do these things if they didn't want to do them, because traditional gamers, self-identified gamers, are skeptical, if not outright hostile towards NFT gaming. And so we wanted to disarm them. Okay, look, man, you don't, just play our games. They're fun. You don't have to do any of this stuff, but it's there. And if you want to use it, you can. And I kind of joke like by liking us to like drug dealers, like we're like, hey man, here's a little taste of the blockchain. But it's true, right? So in our flagship game, which is called Dexy Hunter, which is an augmented reality application that is often likened to Pokemon Go for crypto, but it's so much more than that. We call it the Dexy Hunter experience because it's not really a game. It is a full-blown experience and has lots of incorporated mechanics in it, which we probably don't have time to get into. But
let's go there. Let's go there.
You can play Dexy Hunter. Let's go there. You can play Dexy Hunter and run around and collect digital, collect assets out, bounties, we call them out in the world. And, if you collect an NFT bounty, you don't have to redeem that if you don't want to. You don't need to. If you collect a crypto bounty, you don't have to redeem that if you don't want to. There are non-blockchain in-game assets that you can collect in Dexy Hunter for our other games. There's a non-blockchain in-game currency. We're partnering with businesses to put business vouchers in augmented reality for people to collect and be able to use in those businesses, right? So there's a lot of different opportunities there for people to interact with augmented reality and the Dexy Hunter experience without ever having to have crypto, but they're gonna interact with
and they get stuff that is valuable to them where they are.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So the whole mission, again, adoption, utility, sustainability. Dexy Hunter is in every sense is those three things combined. And the reason why is because, if we're interested in adoption and we're interested in self-identified gamers and people who just enjoy playing games, adopting crypto and NFT technology, adopting NFT gaming, this is a great entry gateway drug. This is a great entry point for them because it's a kind of a mechanism that people who played Pokemon Go are somewhat familiar with. You have augmented reality, you go out, you have a 3D map, you can see these different things, you go out and you hunt for them and you can catch these different bounties. And then those bounties, they're not Pokemon, they have real, application to you. Either they're like in that non-blockchain in-game currency, which you can spend in our other games. They're the non-blockchain in-game assets, which can be used in the other games. They're business vouchers for businesses, local businesses, and eventually international, national businesses that we'll partner with. We can do augmented reality advertising. We can do a whole augmented reality experience for people. Kind of think Free Guy with your phone, though, right? Where we can partner with a school district or with a museum, and we can have a whole augmented reality experience. It's educational, right? Augmented reality provides an opportunity for us to interact in the real world in a way that, again, is enhanced, right? And the whole world becomes our real estate. We can do whatever we want. We can put bounties wherever we want to. We can put banners
beyond
wherever
the world.
We can,
all of space, everywhere, anywhere.
The whole, I mean, we have these kind of goofy little hot air balloons and stuff already, and next thing people are like, "What's the hot air balloon?" We're like, "We don't know. It's just there right now."
You'll see.
We don't know. There's actually coffins right now because I don't know. One of the game developers is like a Halloween guy. People are like, "Why are there coffins in Dexy Hunter?" I'm like, "I don't know. They're there. It's kind of fun. It's cool that they're there."
Yeah.
So
you know what I'm hearing right now? I'm hearing all of the people who really take this whole space seriously. I'm hearing them furiously type on their keyboard, trying to figure out a way to do something with this information in a way of I could just imagine them going through Dexio protocol and just reading about it and going way down the rabbit hole, because this has so much depth to it and there's so many layers. And I'm tremendously grateful that you came and talked to us about this, because I didn't even know that you guys were out doing this at this level. I mean, this is really, really cool stuff. This is I don't even have a good analogy. I mean, you're bridging technologies in such a cool way that, I mean, it's going to move, because everybody that you guys interact with, everybody then becomes part of the global Web3 community in a way, because now we're all finally on the same team, and we don't even have to agree that we're Web2 or Web3 anymore. We're just coming together around gaming and around these experiences and tools. It just removes the thing altogether.
And here's another cool thing that we can do with Dexy Hunter, which I think is really awesome. So we drop these. We have lots of different types of bounties, NFTs. There's crypto, lots of different cryptos. We have cryptos that you've heard of as bounties, like BTC, ETH, Matic, that stuff. Obviously our own, but we've partnered with a couple of projects that we have relationships with. Scrub.money and their token Lion. You can collect Lion in Dexy Hunter because we're partnered with those guys, and then Elk.finance, where we're listed on the DEX that we're listed on, the guys from Elk. So you can collect Elk. We have NFT creators from our own community, but we're talking to NFT creators from other communities that we can drop their NFTs. So people are able to collect these NFTs. They're able to collect these cryptos from other projects and learn about. There's a whole process that when you're collecting, you end up in a screen where you actually are given a bunch of information about the project. You can go to their website, or in the case of Elk, go right to their DEX if you want to, right from the application, right? So, and the purpose, again, it's adoption, right? We want to partner with as many projects as we can. If there's projects that are listening to your show and they want to put their crypto in Dexy Hunter, we currently don't charge people to do that. You just have to provide the crypto that we're giving out in these. It's kind of like an airdrop. But better, right? Because each person is having an individual experience. They're seeing this augmented reality Lion token, and they're collecting it, and they're being brought through this whole collection process, this whole collection animation, and then they're having to go through these screens where they're actually learning a little bit about about Scrub.money, which is, who has Lion. So, it is about community. It is about bringing people and projects together, and about being able to launch this. And in a way, this is kind of the metaverse in its own way, right? It's a augmented reality, right? It's not reality, it's augmented reality. And, I think it's a great way for projects to build their holder base, to interact with new people, and to interact with people in a fun and immersive and interactive experience, right? um, you know it's fun. And it's like, and people get like, it's also a lot of exercise. You're walking around, we're tracking kilometers walked, right? So you're seeing that, you're seeing how many kilometers you're walking, you're seeing how many bounties you're collecting, you're seeing the different types of bounties that you're collecting. You're able to redeem those to build your digital portfolio. You're able to use the non-blockchain stuff and the other games that we have, which I haven't even talked about. And it's a really immersive experience, but it is about connecting with other projects and with NFT creators, so we can bring as many people in as we can. And the other thing that's really cool that we've done is we've built a whole migration feature in our NFT marketplace and our what we call our NFT Emporium, which allows us to actually migrate NFTs from any other contract into our own gaming ecosystem. We can actually use NFTs from other games in our games if we want to, because all we have to do is basically create a database that allows that information, that NFT information, to be read and tracked, and have some kind of visual scope inside of the game. So we want to partner with as many people. So bring your NFTs, bring your crypto. Let's, we'll put it out there for people, and we want to connect more people together. We want to connect with you. We want to build, stuff with you. We built, or we actually really had the guys from Scrub build us a couple of dApps, because they're, in particular, the main dev there, this guy, the G, is brilliant. And so, like, hey man, yeah, we could do that, but you guys build it and let's work together on it, So that's kind of where we're at.
I love that. This goes right back to what we were talking about earlier, with everybody partnering up and building together and creating cool stuff. I mean, just from an intellectual property level, everybody's coming together with their own IP, and there's a huge foundation there individually. And then everybody's coming together, and it feels like now there's a really cool, almost like collab, but on the IP level also, of just an explosion of partnerships and all this cool stuff happening. This is why I'm so unbelievably bullish. Even right now, when people are, I mean, I was looking at the fear and greed index. I think it's at a 20 right now. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's extreme. Literally, it's extreme. But I've never been more bullish in my whole freaking life. Like, in this very moment, just, everything that's led up to this point. And then this conversation we're having, how many people would have even believed this was even close to possible 2 years ago, 5 years ago?
Right.
This is awesome.
The space is accelerating, really fast. Actually, I don't know if you follow a guy named Alex Becker on Twitter, but he's kind of
he's one of the co-founders of Neo Tokyo, which I of course am a citizen of.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. But Becker, I follow Becker and I read, a lot of his tweets and watch his YouTube videos sometimes. I don't necessarily always agree with Becker, but here's somebody who I think has integrity and conviction, right? So,
yes. What's crazy? Quick tangent. The fact that you brought him up as an example of somebody with integrity, when you actually were describing that, he was one of the people that popped into my mind.
Really?
And what popped into my mind was when one of the true signs of integrity, not like virtue signaling, but a true sign of integrity, is when you see somebody that's standing up for a group of people that don't realize that they're being manipulated, and standing up against an individual trying to manipulate those people. And it's just crazy how full circle that was, because that's like exactly it's crazy that came full circle. Anyways, please continue.
No, for sure. He, like I said, I don't even agree with him. I wouldn't even say the majority of the time. Sometimes but I like what he has to say, and it gets me to think about, what I believe. And I think, again, that's one of the most important things, that being challenged to think about what I believe, it helps me have, more resilient conviction about my own beliefs, or gets me to rethink what I'm thinking. But to your point, about the fear and greed index, one of the things that he wrote about recently, I think maybe even today or yesterday, was just, all these people that are calling for, economic collapse and, recession and all these things. They're the people who have gotten this wrong every fucking time, you know? And I thought about that when he wrote that, I thought about it, because a lot of times I'm just like, yeah, we're heading into some real dog shit. And when he read that, I thought about it. I was like, it is. It's all the people who have gotten this wrong every time. Yeah. Are we going to have another couple steps down in the S&P and in Bitcoin and crypto in general? Probably. I would definitely bet on that. Is it going to like all out bottom out, have some kind of like 1930s level depression, like what people are calling for? There's a part of me that believes that, but there's a part of me that also, because of what Becker said, in his tweet, I was just like, yeah, these people have really been wrong most of the time. Like, it's like, why would I want to listen to somebody who's been wrong most of the time? It's like listening to Paul Krugman or something. This guy's been fantastically wrong. It's like entire life. Why does anybody listen to him?
So what's interesting about what you're saying? I was thinking about this very same thing this morning, and the thing that I've been thinking about is, okay, if the narrative going around is that there is this massive dump that's coming and it's inevitable, and everybody's saying it like you're saying, and there is a tremendous amount of quote unquote smart money that is off to the side, on the sidelines, waiting for said thing, then what happens if it just at some point becomes too painful for them to actually stay on the sideline? Is so they're forced to come back in, and that's the way that happens. Because if there's so much on the side and everybody's thinking one thing, like, who else is going to sell?
Well, his point, and I think this is a good point, is if everybody is saying this and thinking this, then it's already priced in. Because that's how futures work. And to your point about this money on the sideline, it's waiting. Let's go back to my point earlier. Capitalism. Capital will always flow to where it grows the fastest and easiest. And if this money is sidelined for too long, they're losing money by having this money on the side for too long, because it's not growing in any way. And in fact, because of inflation, it's actually decreasing in value, right? So undeployed capital is not a good thing over a long period of time. Obviously, having capital reserves is, but the narrative around this, I think, to his point, is a little bit too lockstep. Everybody's saying it, so it must already be priced in. Again, do I think that there's going to be another couple steps down? Probably. Do I think there's that we've had the low of lows of Bitcoin in the crypto market? Probably not. But do I think it's going to just all out crater and BTC 8,000 or some nonsense like that? I don't know if that's going to happen. I would be very shocked if that did happen. I certainly don't want to be on record saying it won't happen, but but what does that mean for GameFi? What has never stopped, no matter what has been going on in human history, no matter what wars have been going on, or what atrocities or what terrible financial, calamities have been happening. What has not stopped? People playing games. In fact, maybe they've been playing more games, and so we are challenged to make sure that we make fun games that have real business mechanics in them, sustainable business mechanics, have real utility, foster adoption, and do that in a collective, cohesive, in a way that to your point is brings people together, right? I think it's arguable, but I've had this position for a long time that really every person on the planet is looking for two fundamental things: purpose and connection. Who are my people, and what are we doing together, right? Where are my people, and what the fuck are we doing together, right? And if you look at pretty much everything that people do, it kind of really comes down to that, and if games are a great way for us to connect with one another and find purpose together, in our own kind of, niche way, but also in a collective way, right? I really feel like GameFi with the Web3 component, right? GameFi is just gaming with the Web3 component. It is this, really beautiful evolution, iteration, into this next kind of ethos of how we think about how we connect with one another and what that means. And I really feel like you said, I don't know that I feel like we're necessarily in a renaissance right now, but I think we're heading into a really beautiful renaissance with this, regardless of the macroeconomic climate. Obviously that will have an impact on, people's the look when you got a bootstrap, which we've bootstrapped Dexio Protocol from the very beginning. It's been all financed from us, and from money we've raised OTC deals and some private sale, pre-sale stuff. But we haven't taken on any VC capital, none of that stuff. We're currently looking for that right now because we're kind of at that phase now where we need that kind of money. But when you have to bootstrap things, it makes you, it makes you strong. It makes you make good decisions, make tough decisions, and be lean and efficient. And that's, I think, again, back to this forest fire analogy, that's part of what's happened too, is it's really forced the people who are actually innovative, creative, hardworking, authentic, have integrity, are transparent, right? It's brought those people really to the forefront because they're the only people that could survive this crypto winter, right?
Well, I think there are probably a couple of lurkers. They're like sitting there, I don't think all of the bad actors are gone.
Oh, of course not. Of course
But
not.
at some level, even those people push us all to be better, because if somebody is able to be a bad actor in a system, that shows the flaw in the system somewhere and helps us actually to get better. I actually want to make one more comment on something that we talked about before, on the ability as an add-on for us to earn within a game. Now, not for it to be life-changing, get-rich-quick money, but where I see this actually being still very, very, very impactful to people, even if it's just a little sprinkle every now and again of actual real value that people can play and earn and spend. Somebody that is young, for example, somebody that is in a place where the amount they earn, it may be little compared to our eyes, but the buying power goes a long way for them. If people in those kinds of scenarios, probably not US, or maybe like a super young person in the US, or something like that, but the economic value that you can get from playing and really interacting with different games in this way that we're talking about, in a non-Ponzi-nomic way. Let's say you take all that money and you start investing that, or you start compounding that over time, and you use that as a way to get startup capital to start your own investing journey as a function of becoming an investor and learning. That to me is a really, really cool way for games to actually teach financial literacy to people who otherwise don't fully understand that. And
Absolutely.
I think that is going to be a hugely undervalued part of what this next part of the crypto gaming timeline looks like.
There's no question that crypto in general, but GameFi in particular, has a really important role to play in underserved and underdeveloped communities and countries. Right? We have a huge community in the Philippines, which is a relatively poor country, and we have a lot of great people there, but they are by far the most, not, I shouldn't say by far, but anyways, they are one of the most enthusiastic groups of people when it comes to gaming and to promoting games and to promoting the project, because they do see the opportunity in it, and they do see the value in it to their community in a way that maybe we don't see that here in the US. And it is about financial literacy to some point, right? There's a great guy in the Philippines. His name is Coach Miranda Miner, who's I would call a friend now, and we've had some really great conversations. He was in Austin. We met up with him in person, but he has this really great school basically to teach people, and he's largely Filipino people, about trading and investing, and about how to do that in an effective way. And gaming is a portion of that, and GameFi projects is a portion of that. And it is about financial literacy for those people. It is about bringing people up from from poverty, really. And that's awesome. That's amazing, right? That's a really cool thing to be connected with a person who's doing that really good work there. Again, this is somebody who is very authentic, has integrity, very transparent, super good dude. All the people around him that we've met were super great people. But he's really trying to bring his people up, and he's using crypto and crypto trading, and also the GameFi space as the vehicle to do that. And that's amazing. That has a lot of there's a lot of a lot of people. There's a lot of the unbanked in the world, right? We know that there's a lot of people just don't have access to that stuff, and they're getting access to the internet before they're even getting access to banks. They're getting that access, and because of that, it's enabling them to venture into their personal financial journey using crypto first. And that's incredible, right? And GameFi is going to play an important role in the adoption portion of that.
It'll reach everybody the fastest.
Exactly. Adoption. That's what gaming is going to do for crypto. It is going to accelerate adoption if it's done right. If it's done through Ponzi-nomics and total, just completely tokenomics focused, earnings focused, P2E focused, what it was in this last bull cycle, it's not going to work, because you're going to burn, you're going to burn a lot of people. It's funny because when people are like, oh, yeah, it's 30x or whatever. It's something 30x is in like, a few weeks, which happened to Dexio Protocol back in October and November of last year. We 30x'd in, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, right? It was crazy. We had this crazy, and we had a crazy crash afterwards, just like every other, because it wasn't a sustainable thing. There were a few people who made a bunch of money, and a lot of people left holding the bag in that, right? And that's how all of those pump and dump cycles worked. We didn't intend for that to happen. It just kind of happened. And it's nothing, and we learned a lot through that process, obviously. And we also increased our reach, because there was a lot more people that learned about us because of that, right? But you have to have sustainable growth. These super cycles of pumping and dumping, that is a sure way to piss off the vast majority of people who get involved in that, because the people who profit are profiting a lot, and the people who don't are far outnumber the people that did, and they're going to be upset or frustrated by losing money, especially if that's why they got into whatever they're getting into. And we definitely experienced that too. For months it was just like endless, like, price, what's wrong with the price? Like, look, I don't control the price. People are selling the token. There's nothing I can do about that. And the learning lesson in all of that, I think, for everybody, was that you really don't want to have that stuff happen. I mean, you do if all you care about is just cashing out on people at the top. But for those of us that are actually interested in long-term sustainable mechanics, that are interested in the future of crypto and GameFi, we don't really want things like that. We want, we want this. We want growth, and we'd like to see 30x over time, but like how Apple 30x, not how SafeMoon did. This doesn't work.
I always think about it in terms of riding the same curve of exponential effects, or network effects rather. That's the same curve I want to see in a business. Like it just compounds and compounds, and eventually the power of compounding steadily over time is just just sends it straight up. Now, how long it takes a business or a project to go through that's up to the business. But that I think is probably one of the healthiest, because that it's a function of real network effects coming into play, which that is a really, really powerful accelerant of any business's journey.
Absolutely.
Well, I am extremely grateful that you decided to come on the show today. I just realized we are over the hour, and I feel like we could keep chatting for any number of more hours. It's been a lot of fun. So I just want to say thank you very much for coming on the show today. I tremendously appreciate your time, and I appreciate you sharing and going into a interesting number of places and going through a bunch of tangents with me. So thank you very much.
Hey, thank you so much, man. It's really great to meet you, and it was great to be on the show. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and also your audience in general. And it's good to connect with people who have like-minded vision.
I agree. Well, everybody, I am so glad that you decided to join us today. I want to thank you again for Greg being a part of the show and for sharing your valuable time. And everybody, I will see you on the next episode.